Okay, let's go ahead and begin, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning. My name is Jose Padilla. I am the Senior Account Manager responsible for the federal, state, local, and the education market here down at Kurmi Software.
And this is Sameh Bolis, your technical account manager. I will walk you through the demo solution today.
Thank you so much, Sam. So again, guys, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be discussing the UCC complexity more towards the higher education piece of the market. We're going to be really taking you guys through a few case studies that we have put together. And really, most importantly, we're going to try to be showcasing you as to how Kermi is addressing all of these needs, all of these complexity problems that right now are happening in the higher education space. So with that being said, let's go ahead and begin. So again, guys, I think the biggest thing here is to start talking about what has changed, right? In average, right now, companies are using up to 3 different providers per UCC application to manage that collaboration piece right now that they have. We have seen a significant increase in remote workers and hybrid work environments. And for example, today, over 85% of all these employees that were going into an office environment are now working remote, right? Compared to that same number being below 35% prior to pandemic. So I think it's important to really understand that fact, because the challenge that comes behind that is that most of the higher ed right now are really facing, they are encountering a heavy increase in their IT budgets to really meet all these changes that are happening within their organization. With some of the primary growth areas that are being really adding new tools like the collaboration piece, like the video conference, like the team collaboration applications, like the security applications right now. So there is a lot of changes that are happening, causing all these budgets to obviously see a significant, pretty much increase back, right? So really is, how can Kermi help you guys to really help quickly provision and manage all these employees, all these staff changes, regardless of if this organization, it's, let's say, staying hybrid, or if it's staying local, or if they're going to plan to go full back into the office, right? So there's a lot of changes that are happening really prior to COVID, during COVID, and now transitioning into like the post-COVID times, right? So with that being said, what are some of the consequences that right now we are seeing, right? We are seeing a very strong need to quickly deploy all of these UCC tools in a efficient way, in a seamless way, and in a way that it's truly bringing that automation piece behind, right? How are all these companies doing all these changes without sacrificing security, without really just trying to stay as seamless as possible throughout this whole transition, right? And really behind all this, how can we help simplify the management of not just one UC environment, for example, but for so many different schools with so many different public sector accounts that have multiple environments, that have, let's say, Microsoft Teams, that have Cisco, that have Avaya, right? So really finding that one place that could simplify the management of all these UC environments to make sure that they have a single pane of glass to really manage all of these complexities and to really manage all of the UC environments that right now they have, right? One of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is something called mass onboarding, right? It's, aside from doing those daily MACDs of 1 or 2 users, we are really encountering a large amount of mass onboarding, of mass changes that are constantly happening, because you have so many employees that are transitioning from that truly office environment to that hybrid work, to that fully remote work, right? So with those changes, there is a lot of MACDs that happen pretty much like right behind the scenes, right? So, and that brings me right into the major 6 key things that I always like to bring on as to how Kermi can help with all these changes, with all these consequences that are happening, right? And I think the first one that I always like to mention is the unification piece. It's really to find a single tool, a single platform that can truly help you manage all of your UC environments, right? And that leads me right into the simplification piece. It's with all these platforms being in place, how simple is this new UI going to be? How intuitive is it going to be, not just for my high skilled voice engineers, but also for my help desk team that are really trained just to do simple MACDs that really need that basic functionality to be able to navigate themselves through a simple move, through a simple add, through a simple change, right? So it's really the unification piece, which is very important, but also how much we can simplify and how easy we can make it to use all these tools, right? And right behind the simplicity, it really ties right back to how much time it's really taking my team, right? How much time can I reduce by, let's say, not having to go into 5 or 6 different platforms to get one user fully onboarded, but having the ability to reduce that time by being able to do all this provisioning, but do all these changes in just a few clicks, like Sam is going to show you live next. So I think it's important to, one of the biggest segue today is to focus as to how much time we are truly reducing by making all these daily changes, right? And the way that we help reduce all this time is by having a complex delegation platform, right? So Kurmi Software has something called RBAC, or role-based access control. I'm sorry. So with this RBAC feature, you are able to truly delegate tasks to different level of admins according to the amount of access, the amount of changes that you want all these admins to be able to do, right? So if you have certain sites that you only have the help desk, you can delegate just for them to be able to do simple moves, simple ads. But if you have a bigger building, for example, that truly requires a more like in-depth kind of like configuration, you can also delegate a different kind of skills to a different kind of teams to truly be able to kind of administer the way that you choose and to truly have that delegation module in place so you can truly maximize all those folks that are behind these UC environments, right? And really is, how do we improve all this flow, right? And I think the biggest piece behind Kurmi, it's not just the provisioning piece, but I think more importantly is the all the other ITSM integrations that we also talk very well with, right? So we have a large amount of our customers that are on ServiceNow, for example, that are using like Oracle Session Border Control, that are on Active Directory, right? So it's really the unification of all these ITSMs, tying that back to the provisioning tool to truly give everyone that zero touch provisioning feel, to truly give everyone that simplification so that you guys can say, I have one place to manage my entire UC pretty much platforms, right? And the last thing, it's one of the biggest things that we are seeing lately, especially in the higher education market, is the migration. And what I mean by migration is really having that multi-environment, right? It's perhaps having that Cisco calling features, but having a different kind of like collaboration tools, like Microsoft Teams, for example, right? And for those customers that are in need of that migration piece to be able to shift some of those employees from Cisco to Teams to Avaya, and being able to do it in a way that is so seamlessly, that it's so easy, that is truly going to simplify that process, right? And I think that's going to give you guys a good idea as to some of the 6 main key features that I always like to present with Kurmi, which is going to really tie it back to who we are first, right? And I think in here, what I want to touch on is first the company as a whole, and then I'm going to pass it off to Sam so he can have a good overview as to what Kurmi's architecture actually looks like, right? So first is who we are, right? We take a lot of pride on being a multi-vendor expert company. We take a lot of pride of being able to manage Cisco, Avaya, Microsoft, Alcatel-Lucent, and so forth. And we do that by continuously being innovation driven. And what I'm being by that is 2/3 of our company is dedicated to research and development. And I always like to bring that up because I feel that it's so important for a company to have all the necessary resources to continue to evolve, to continue to develop, and to continue to get better. And the way to be able to accomplish that is by having a good team that is constantly trying to improve the product, that is continuously trying to upgrade. And, and the why we do that is because when you are working so closely with all these big UC environments that are constantly upgrading, that are constantly getting better, you have to be able to have a tool that is trying to keep up with that pace, right? And we do that again by being innovation driven, by truly wanting to better our product every single day. We sit in a global presence. We are a world leading UC provisioning company. We have the biggest headquarters in France, some offices in Germany, Canada, down here, down in the US. So it's a company that is currently managing north of 3 million seats, with certain customers that are way north of 200,000 seats that right now Kurmi is currently managing, right? So that gives you guys a quick overview as to what the tool is, as to a lot of the changes that we're seeing, but also as to who the company is, right? So with that information, guys, I want to pass it off to Sam quickly. I would like for him to give you a good overview of what Kurmi's architecture actually looks like. Sam, why don't you take over?
Sure. Thank you, Jose. Let's take a quick look on high-level architecture of Kurmi. As you heard from Jose earlier, Kurmi can provide a very universal platform for multi-vendor with a unified UI for all the services for each single UC platform. As you can see, Kurmi can, through the southbound connector of Kurmi, can connect to multiple vendor, not limited to Cisco, Microsoft, Avaya, Alcatel-Lucent, and whatever we are doing in the roadmap as well. We can connect to all these UC platforms between UC and CC and collaboration services for each one, and we're still using the same UI, managing and provisioning and automating all the operations and MACD for each UC without the need to expertise for any of these UC platform vendors. All you need to know how to manage and how to use Kurmi UI platform. Not only that, through our northbound API, Kurmi can integrate to your IT systems where you can do zero-touch provisioning based on detecting from, for example, ITSM tool like ServiceNow or Workday. You can as well integrate your Active Directory and your LDAP and provision accordingly based on the mapped attributes and fields out of your Active Directory, and the job will be done for you automatically without an admin intervention. Also, Kurmi can provide your admin a console, depending the admin level, where is it when they log in as a system admin or company admin or department admin or help desk, based on the admin profiles that you assign to them. They will be able to manage and do their daily operations through this console. And also, Kurmi can empower your end user with a portal where the end user can activate their own services, as you're going to see later on, and as well reset their PIN and password and more stuff to do. That was a very quick high level on Kurmi architecture. I think, Jose, it's time to kick off with the first use case that we have for our audience here.
Let's do it.
Yep.
So again, guys, the first case study that I want to take you guys today through, and again, the main purpose for all these case studies is to really give you guys a live demonstration as to how easy it is to solve some of these challenges that some of our live customers were having. So the first one that I want to take you through was a very understaffed team with a good amount of massive MACDs that were coming in on a daily basis. This particular account was north of about 15,000 licenses. And just to quickly break through some of the challenges, they were coming off a recent upgrade to a brand new version of Cisco. Behind that big upgrade, there was a lot of soft phones. There was a lot of like collaboration tools like Jabber that were also being deployed. And one of the biggest challenges was to relocate all the staff numbers during the summer, right? So what Sam is going to show you here today live is how Kurmi was able to, using a feature like RBAC, for example, empower the help desk to quickly take over this whole upgrade, to anticipate all the MACDs that were coming in by having a set scheduling system feature in place that was going to truly like kind of help maximize all that time that was going to be wasted without it, and to have a good system in place to be able to do all this bulk management for all this relocation that was happening during the summer, as to how easy this was done with Kermi. So Sam, why don't you take us through a live demonstration as to how this looked like within our tool, so we can show the attendees as to how easy this is with our platform.
Sure. Here I'm the admin of Public New England University. I need to manage over 15K users. And my challenge was yearly challenge where I need to manage a lot of MACDs and relocate staff between campuses based on semesters and what they're going to teach there. And as well, it added to it the need of collaborations where I need to deploy a lot of Java as well. In addition to that, I have a lot of complex operations that I need to manage with my engineering staff, like upgrading the new version of Cisco, for example, on my platform. With with this all the challenges that I have and the time constraint every year, I was in need for a solution. And thanks to Kermi, Kermi was able to provide me this tool. This tool over here, I'm logged in at the admin level as a company admin, where I can see all the campuses and the resources and the configuration on all the campuses and all the users of each college and campus. In this case, I find out that my help desk has the bandwidth to offload some tasks to, but they don't have the expertise to manage, for example, the deployment of Java. So I was able through Kermi to create another admin level where I can here substitute and impersonate once they log into Kermi. I was able to allocate for them certain resources and services, and through role-based access control to give them the power, for example, to deploy Java on my behalf with not much configuration to do, with very simple task. So once the help desk log in to Kermi, they will be able to go and access the user list, and they can create whatever filter based on the criteria of the operation and select whatever criteria. In my case here, I can select on a user with a basic Cisco package and do not have a Java. And I also created for them and saved for them a filter already they can access where everything will be selected based on this filter. So all they need to do here, click on the saved filter. As you see, I have a filter created non-Cisco Java user, and it will look for user with Cisco basic package, and as well, they do not have Java. So they can go ahead and click on all of this user one shot and do the deployment on bulk of users one shot, or I can select one or two or three based on the number of users that I want to deploy Java on. In this case, I will do two. And once you select the number of users that you want to deploy Java on as a help desk, the help desk will able to click on this gear icon and provide Java to the selected user. You see here, Kermi was able to provide me a CSV live file where I can update the entry individually on each user and activate, for example, Android collaboration on one user and the other one iPhone accordingly and update the entry after. Or if I'm good with collaboration generally on Jabber for both of the users that I have here, I can click apply. By clicking apply, I was simply delegating the deployment of Jabber to my help desk, and I was able to deploy Jabber to my end user through my help desk without the need to any expertise on Cisco Jabber, or to have and offload myself and my engineering staff to do more complex operation. The other challenge that I had as well, that I have a lot of MACDs, which has a peak at certain time of the year. Like for example, during summer, I have a lot of staff need to relocate from one campus to another in order to teach a different class with the same phone number, for example, or a new phone number and other services as well. And with this, a lot of MACDs, with this time constraint, it was very difficult to maintain every year. So Kermi was able to automate and simplify this for me. And I was able to do that in one click or two. So if I go back and unsubstitute to my admin level, company admin level, and for example, I had a ticket from Brandy here. He's a staff member, and Brandy is located, if I access the profile of Brandy, is located on Central Campus. He wanted to move to the West Campus. Also, I might need to add some services for him as well when he moved to West Campus. So all I need to do to move this staff member or relocate this staff member, one simple click on the modify. Once I click on modify, I'll be able to move this user to the West Campus by selecting which department, the West Campus, and the forum will compute and automate accordingly. It will give me, all right, that is the old number of Brandy. Do you want to keep it, or you want to select out of the new DID range for the new department here? I can click and selecting a new number out of the DID range for the West Campus, or I can go in the DID management tool and select one of the available green numbers on this West Campus. Of course, the red one is taken. The gray one is reserved for future need, if I don't like the one the system selected for me. With making the modification, I have one thing left. I know this staff member needs this number and this operation and these services to be up by September 3rd, while he using his current phone number on the central campus. So Kermi empowered me with the scheduling feature, where I can schedule things and operation in future. So I don't have to wait until September 3rd, for example, and do the change. And not only on this user will be a multiple number of users as well. So I select the time and the day and click OK. And once I select the time and the day through the scheduling feature here, I click apply, and I'll have this relocation operation be done for me in the future, and I'll be free to do more complex solution. Now we can more complex operation. Now we can go back to the PowerPoint where I can share with you the result of the first use case. Thank you, Jose. So as a result of the first use case here, I was able to offload and delegate a lot of operation to my help desk without the need to know much on the Cisco collaboration, like, for example, deploy Jabber. I was also able to reduce the MACD through the scheduling feature and bulk management as well, and reduce all of this number of MACDs through a certain time constraint. And that helped me and as well my engineering staff to do more complex operation and freed my time and their time to do, for example, upgrading to a new version of Cisco. That's how Kermi resolved my my challenges here. And I think it's time to move to case number 2.
Thank you so much, Sam. that was a great demonstration as to how quickly you're able to do the bulk management piece, the Jabber piece, and all this cool stuff. Thanks again. So yeah, let's go ahead and move forward, guys. I think the second one that right now we wanted to show you guys is how Kermi was able to manage and migrate multiple UCC customers for Western University that we have as a customer, with over, again, 6,000 undergrads, with about 7,000 grads as you see here, and about 3,000 and 4,000 faculty staff. So again, here, one of the main challenges that this Western University was facing was how to smoothly and seamlessly migrate from Avaya to Cisco, right? Again, touching back on that multiple UC environment. Aside from that, they had a third-party ITSM with Oracle Session Border Control, and how do they manage that piece with Kermi as well? And then also to not just be part of the first management piece, but how Kermi can help continue in that management process, right? I think those were the biggest challenges behind this particular use case. And what Sam's going to show you now, it's going to be how easy we were able to put all these UC environments into a single pane of glass to be able to give all these customers a single platform to manage Avaya, to manage Cisco, but also being able to not just manage these two like UC environments, but also to manage a third-party ITSM like Oracle Session Border Control. So Sam, why don't you take us through this live demonstration so we can show these attendees as to how easy it is to manage multiple UC environments with Kermi, and as to how easy this is to manage something like Oracle SBC as well.
Of course. Thank you, Jose. Here, I'm the admin of the Western University. And over here, I have a very different challenge. My management decided to go with and migrate to a new UC platform. In my case here, my users already exist on Avaya UC platform. And my management asked me to migrate all the users to Cisco UC platform. Meanwhile, I need to maintain all the existing user on Avaya, and as well maintain all the users that gonna be migrated on Cisco. And on top of that, I need to update my SPC session border control routing accordingly for each platform. Not to mention that I need also to educate myself in Cisco UC telephony services as well, and how to provision and at least match the same services that the user had in Avaya to Cisco UC platform. So thanks to Kermi was magically solving this issue for me. Over here, I have one scenario where I'm gonna use where I can access one of my users that I have on Avaya. Like let's, for example, access Barbara that I need to migrate to Cisco UC platform from Avaya. And here, Barbara on Avaya telephony services. When I access her profile, I can see that I can manage some services on Avaya. For example, I can enable EC500 for Barbara by just clicking on the plus icon here and list the number that need the calls be forwarded to Barbara on EC500. So she can get calls on this number and click apply. So through Kermi, I was able to manage Avaya simply than before with a lot of automated configuration. It was a very big plus for me because I will need this to make it more simple, because I have another challenge where I need to learn how to migrate to Cisco and learn Cisco as well and do the managing of the SPC. Kermi here provided me with a very awesome feature where they call it packages, where I can create packages based on the services between different UC platform. I was able to create core package on Avaya with the required services for my users. I was able to create another package. I named it basic on Cisco, So I was able to create these packages accordingly. So in order to migrate this user, in my case here, Barbara, from Cisco to Avaya, from Avaya to Cisco, all I need to do just to click again on the modify button here. And once I click on modify button, I'll be able to switch the package with Avaya services, core package Avaya services, to the basic Cisco package services. You see the form will uh, automate and compute accordingly. It gave me a Cisco telephony services with a line. It matched for me some services like a single number reach, which is equal to EC500 on Avaya. And I can, of course, have Kurmi update the same phone number that I had on Avaya, or I can have it entered manually if I want to put a new number on a single number reach for this user. It's about the same number that I had before, because I choose to do that, and I call it cell phone. Of course, I have the scheduling feature, which we explained it before, and I can go ahead and click apply. By clicking apply, I was able to migrate this user from Avaya to Cisco. One of the first things I was able to do after migration, I was able to provision this user with equivalent services on Cisco. I was able to activate Cisco telephony, line, assign, and as well Jabal collaboration, single number reach. And as you can see, you see here Oracle ACB, which is my SPC session border controller here, been updated the entry for the new route to the new UC platform, in my case here, Cisco. And this has been done with zero touch provisioning. I did not need to update anything. I did not need to do anything. It done for me with zero touch management. And that was magical for me. That was like, I did not even need to learn Cisco. I also did not even touch my SPC session border control to do the update accordingly. Also, there is one more thing that you need to know. All the services that Barbara had on Avaya been provisioned on my behalf, which means all the resources and the services for Barbara on Avaya been removed, and all the licenses been saved, and as well without any confusion about human error between all these migrations. Also, my database will stay clean. And that's how Kurmi was simply resolved all my issues from a single pane of glass UI. And still, I can manage all the users existing in Avaya until I migrate them. And also, I can manage all the users existing on Cisco meanwhile. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and share the result of this use case. Here, as a result of this use case, I was able to migrate between Avaya to Cisco, for example, with a click of a button. I was also did not need to do any managing on the SPC, and it has been done through zero touch management. Also, I reduced a lot of time between jumping between different UC platform vendors to manage and provision or deprovision all the services across each UC platform. And I have only to deal with one UI platform here. And that's how we conclude case number 2. I think it's time, Jose, to go to the last case number 3.
Thank you so much, Sam. Let's go ahead and move on, folks, to the last use case that we have prepared for you today. And this one is mostly focused around a high demand of enabling all these collaboration services that we have been speaking about. This one's particular for public agency on the north of 30,000 licenses that we were able here to manage well for them. And I think one of the biggest challenges behind here was to have a seamless and a real efficient way to configure Cisco Jabber, to configure Cisco WebEx meeting, and to really have all this provisioning and all this management done, for example, like overnight due to a big um, COVID lockdown that they were facing, right? So what Sam is going to show us here is how Kermit was able to go back to that bulk management feature that we have to be able to provision all these users, again, in just a few clicks, in the most efficient way possible, but also the ability to empower the end user using the Kurmi self-service tool. And this is a tool that is extremely powerful because, like Sam is going to show you now, it truly lets the admin dictate as to what kind of services you want that end user to be able to have, right? So this is one that I am really looking for Sam to showcase to you because this problem was solved so easily and so seamlessly with Kermi. So Sam, why don't you go ahead and take it through a live demo so we can showcase our attendees what this looked like with Kermi.
Of course. Thank you, Jose. All right. The question that you might have today, all right, you have shown us already how we delegate to our help desk the deployment of Java or collaboration in general. What you're going to add in this case? In this case, I'm the public agency admin, and I need to manage over 30 key users. And Kermi was able to empower me and empower my end user to have my end user access services and enable themselves and activate some collaboration services according to their need. You will tell me, why would you need this? We all been through a very dramatic year, and we have seen since the pandemic started, a lot of us went through a lockdown and we needed to work remotely. So with the need of working remotely, the need of collaboration tool was immediate and it has to be done overnight. And provisioning and enabling all these services for 30K users is a nightmare. And I don't want to as well overbook the license for the collaboration for the 30K user. I want to go as much as needed for whoever gonna need this collaboration tools. So thanks to Kermi, I was able to empower my end user. So here I will substitute to an end user profile when they log into Kermi and see what I was able to provide my end user and how I give them the power to enable their services. I'll substitute and impersonate services of, for example, Jared Kelsey here, which I filtered on. So when Jared log in to Kermi, he will be able to see multiple things like documentation to share or links to share, and as well, he can access his services or update his account. So let's say Jared here needed to enable some services for himself. All he needed to do that hover over the service that he wanted to access or to activate. So in this case, Jared wanted to enable collaboration on Android smartphone for Java. So he will hover over it, he will click on the plus button. And once he click on the plus button, there is no configuration to do except he wanna click apply. By clicking apply, Jared been able to activate himself collaboration on for Android. What if Jared as well needed WebEx? Same story. He will need to hover over WebEx Teams, click on the plus sign. Again, there is no configuration to do at his end because as an end user, he has nothing to do or to know about the WebEx UC platform. So all he need to do, click apply. And of course, Jared might need to receive calls and make calls. So he would need to forward all the calls to his number so he can request some single number each. And that's another process where he gonna send another ticket with the number that he wanna forward the call to, and so on, and wait a couple days until the admin come back to him and enable this for him. So Jared do need to do that. He need to go to his services and hover over the single number each year and list his number that the calls will go to, and name it home, for example, and click apply. And that's how Jared was able to activate multiple collaboration tools without the need of raising a ticket or waiting multiple days for the service to be available to him, and he can do it immediately. And that's helped me to offload myself and empowerment end user. And also it resolved my challenge for time constraint overnight for over 30K users. So that was very magical from Kurmi. And the client was so happy using the solution. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and see the result of the third use case. All right, as a result of the third use case, we were able to increase, of course, the end user satisfaction because they can go ahead to their portal and log in and activate their own services and activate single number reach, and you can name it voicemail even or whatever. Also, I was able to maintain my own business activity aside of this operation, and as well, it gave me the power to accommodate the right amount of license to my users and not over consume the licenses for users who are not gonna need the service. So I give them back to the users, and the users select if they wanted the service or not. And that's how Kurmi resolved the third challenge of the third use case. I think, Jose, it's time now to share what was the advantages of using Kurmi across all of these use cases.
Thank you so much once again, Sam, for really putting all these three demos together that I believe are so impactful to show our customers, because we believe that this is a tool that you have to be able to see it in action for you to truly be able to get all the benefits from it, right? So I think the biggest segue that I want you guys to take on today was to kind of go back and to remember as to how simple Sam was able to show us to really make all these changes in just a few clicks, regardless of the complexity of this UC environments, whether you have only one platform, whether you have several platforms with different kind of ITSMs. I think one of the biggest segues is, right, you are gaining productivity, you are saving time, you are truly reallocating all that valuable time and putting all that money right back into the company so you can truly dedicate your resources the correct way, right? So you can have those senior voice engineers, for example, really tackle on those high skill projects, but also be able to delegate some of these things, whether it's to the end user, whether it's to the actual like help desk, and really be able to have a plan in place, right? I think Sam today really showed us how we can get a line in, how we can go ahead and get all this like collaboration tools like Jabber, like all the Cisco WebEx, and really show us as to how quickly he was able to do this in just a few seconds, as opposed to being able to do this in the moment in a more like manual process that you have to go through so many different platforms, through so many different windows, without taking into account the human error piece, without taking into account as to really whom is doing all these changes, right? So we have seen customers that are getting all this UC operations time reduction at 80, 85, up to 93%, right? So I think the biggest segue of today really should be how much productive my company can be with Kurmi, how much time I can really give back to my employees, and really all that equates to reallocating those budgets back to those necessary tasks to be able to have a much more productive environment and to let a tool like Kurmi do all the heavy lifting for you so you can go back and truly focus on the things that are important to your company, right? So I think with that being said, guys, I like to now start with a few questions that came in that I think are going to be pretty important. And we have a good question here. Let me go ahead and take this one. Say maybe you can go ahead and answer it. So I'll go ahead and read it to you. Says empowering the end user to activate their own services with automated configuration was powerful, but how can the admin monitor and control these operations? Do you have a reporting or ticketing system in place?
All right. It's actually a very good question because that what would come to as a first question to the admin. How can I control this operations if I'm empowering my end user or my help desk? All right, there is a lot of things that you can do with Kermi. Of course, you can upon in each operation, you can send an email accordingly based on the operation with shared information to your administrator and to your end user as well if you want to share like pin and password and some documentation or anything based on the operation. Also, or a report on the operation. Also, you can access, Kermi has a change log to each user and each device there, where it can list a new ticketing number generated for each operation that you do on Kermi. On this ticket, you can see a lot of information. One of the information, like when it has been done, who done it, what type of operation, who you did for, what was the change, and as well what was the modification there, and what was exactly the configuration on the UC platforms that you do in the operation on and the services as well. It does not stop here. Also, you can access the tickets from under the report for the whole company or the whole university, where you can see all the tickets across the whole environment. And at each ticket, we empower the admin to roll back, and there is a rollback button where you can undo whatever the operation has done, and it will go back to the original state before the change has been done. So that's where you can monitor and control the operation. If you don't like the operation, you felt like something done by mistake on bulk users or bulk management on any operation, you can undo that and roll back this operation accordingly from the ticketing system on Kermi.
Thank you so much, Sam. Next question is, the capabilities shown during this webinar are they also available to manage on Microsoft's Teams? And the answer to that question is yes. Kermi has the ability to not just connect to Cisco to Avaya like we showcased today, but also to Microsoft Teams. So yes.
Of course, as well, I would like to add to this that yes, you can manage the direct routing on Microsoft for any outbound call if you don't have a calling plan with Microsoft. You can as well manage the direct routing depend if you have an SPC that is compatible with Microsoft. Kermi can integrate to this SPC and can manage the direct routing for your outbound calls accordingly.
Thank you. The next question is, are you able to manage SBC from Microsoft Teams voice direct routing? Sam, you want to take the lead here?
Actually, I think I just answered this question through direct routing and managing the SPC accordingly for this routing plan. If you don't have a Microsoft calling plan with E5 license, we can manage your direct routing through the SPCs that you have, which is compatible with Microsoft. And from there, we can update the routing accordingly through our back-to-back user agent to the right platform.
Very nice. And I have one last question that came in. Could you share some information on the way Kermi syncs with Active Directory?
Yes, you can share through the our northbound API. You can integrate your Active Directory, and we can think accordingly with the mapped attributes and fields, and we can update, we can read, update, and write back to the Active Directory after the operation is done. For example, provisioning or any MACD operation based on what operations that you want to do based on the sync with the Active Directory. And Kermi can update the fields accordingly after the operation and integrate based on the scheduled job or real-time update between Kermi and rectify the system accordingly.
Thank you, Sam. So that belief sums it up for the question, guys. And what I want to wrap up this today's webinar is with what's next, right? I think the biggest question is how can Kermi help me next? And the obvious next steps here is reach out to us. We would love to put a customized demo for you. I believe we got one more questions that came in last minute that I would like to actually answer it before I conclude it. I noticed you have a slide that shows available telephone numbers in green and red. If we assign a DID, can it write it back to your Active Directory?
Yeah, it's another good question, and the answer to this is yes as well. If I selected out of this available phone numbers that assigned to this department on green, for example, I can take this number and provision it to this user, and upon the provisioning and complete and success of this operation, Kermi will write back the phone number to the Active Directory. And same thing will apply to any field that you want to update back on the Active Directory, not only the phone number. We can go with the department name or organization unit or whatever that you want to update back on the Active Directory accordingly.
Makes sense. Thank you, Sam. So I think that sums it up for questions. Hopefully this time, I'm sorry, I did miss one last minute one. But no, what I wanted to really say was give us a call. The way that we like to take on this next steps is to have a 15, 20-minute discovery call to truly understand your environment, to truly understand your needs, and really as to what you are looking for in a UC provisioning company. And then based on that information, Sam and I like to take that back and build a customized demo that it's really tailored to your needs, to your workflows. So we try to really have a good simulation as to what it's going to look like in your live environment, so that demo can be that much more impactful. So feel free to ask away, send us an email, give us a call. We will be more than happy to really address all of your needs, regardless of being Cisco, Microsoft, Avaya, whatever kind of UC platform we have. If we're able to support it, we'll be more than happy to really put something together for you. So with that being said, I would like to officially conclude this webinar. Sam, thank you once again for your demonstration. Thank you to all the attendees for taking the time of your day to really show and to really kind of listen in as to what a Kermi can do, right? So thank you so much once again. Thank you so much, everyone, for really taking the time of your day, and have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.